Stop. Before you make your next cup of coffee, you need to hear this. That morning ritual you trust, that warm cup you depend on, it's built in a lie. Right now in your kitchen cupboard, there's probably a jar or bag with the word coffee printed on it. But what's inside isn't what you think. Australia's coffee industry has been hiding something from you for decades, and the truth is finally coming out. Major brands, the ones your parents bought, the ones you see everywhere, they're not selling you real coffee. They're selling you something far cheaper, far more profitable, and they're banking on you never finding out. Today that changes. Let me show you exactly what you've been drinking. Number one, International Roast. If you grew up in Australia, you know International Roast, the red and gold tin. It's been in Australian homes since the 1960s. Your grandparents had it. Your parents probably still buy it. It's cheap, it's everywhere. And for millions of Australians, it's what coffee means. But here's what International Roast actually is. It's not coffee, not real coffee. It's a coffee-flavored industrial product, and yes, there's a massive difference. International Roast is made by Jacobs Douwe Egberts, a Dutch mega corporation that processes over 2 million tons of coffee every year. When you're operating at that scale, coffee stops being a craft. It becomes a commodity. It becomes about cutting costs and maximizing profit margins. Let me tell you what's actually in that tin. The label says 100% coffee, and technically, that's true. But what they don't tell you is which coffee and how it's been treated. Independent testing reveals International Roast uses the absolute lowest grade Robusta beans available on the global market. We're talking damaged beans, broken beans, beans that failed quality control for literally every other product line. These beans are then roasted so dark they're basically carbonized. Why? Because when you burn coffee that badly, everything tastes the same. You can't detect mold. You can't taste rancidity. You can't identify how cheap the source material actually is. It's all masked under a thick layer of char. But it gets worse. International Roast uses something called steam treatment. The beans are blasted with high-pressure steam before roasting. This was originally developed to strip caffeine, but it also removes the volatile aromatic compounds that give coffee its flavor. It makes terrible coffee taste less terrible by removing the flavors that would expose how cheap it really is. The result? A product that tastes like burnt rubber with a vague coffee undertone. No complexity, no character, no nuance, just harsh, bitter, one-dimensional darkness. And an entire generation of Australians has been conditioned to think that's what coffee is supposed to taste like. Professional roasters have a name for International Roast. They call it the coffee that made Australia hate coffee. It's so aggressively bad that millions of people learned to associate coffee with bitterness. They needed milk and sugar just to make it drinkable. That's not coffee. That's a caffeine delivery system disguised as coffee, and you've been paying for it your whole life. Number two, Moccona. Now let's talk about Moccona. This is the upgrade, right? The freeze-dried crystals, the premium jar, the sophisticated advertising with Europeans sipping espresso in cobblestone cafes. It's the quality instant coffee, the one you serve to guests, the one that makes you feel like you're making a better choice. Except here's what Moccona doesn't want you to know. It's owned by the exact same company as International Roast, Jacobs Douwe Egberts. Same parent company, same supply chain, same procurement standards, same bottom line priorities. The only real difference is the processing method and the marketing budget. Moccona uses freeze drying instead of spray drying, which preserves more aromatic compounds. That's why Moccona smells better than International Roast when you open the jar. But freeze drying doesn't magically improve the quality of the source beans. Garbage in, garbage out. Just preserved slightly better. And here's the part that should make you furious. Moccona Classic Medium Roast, their best-selling product, is a blend of Arabica and Robusta. The label says 100% coffee, but it doesn't tell you the ratio. Industry sources suggest it's 60-40 or even 50-50 Arabica to Robusta. Why does that matter? Because Robusta is cheaper, harsher, and contains almost double the caffeine of Arabica. Real coffee drinkers avoid Robusta. It's bitter, it's rubbery, it lacks any complexity, but it's cheap, and it gives you that caffeine jolt people mistake for strong coffee. Moccona uses it because it slashes production costs while still delivering the stimulant effect consumers expect. The origin labeling is equally deceptive. Moccona claims they source from sustainable farms in Africa, Asia, and South America. Sounds ethical, doesn't it? Until you realize those three regions account for 90% of global coffee production. It's like saying your beef comes from farms that raise cows. Technically accurate, completely meaningless. Independent taste tests consistently rank Moccona near the bottom for instant coffees. Bitter, flat, one-dimensional, with a distinct chemical aftertaste. And that aftertaste isn't an accident. It's the result of industrial processing at massive scale. When you're producing millions of kilograms annually, quality control becomes about consistency, not excellence. It's about making sure every jar tastes exactly the same, regardless of how mediocre that taste actually is. You're paying $14 to $18 for 200 grams of this. You're paying for the glass jar, the marketing, and the brand recognition. You're not paying for quality coffee. You're paying to feel like you're drinking quality. Coffee, there's a big difference. Number 3, Nescafé Gold. Nescafé is the biggest coffee brand on the planet, owned by Nestlé, the Swiss food giant pulling in over $100 billion in annual revenue. When you're that massive, you don't compete on quality. You compete on price, distribution, and marketing budgets that could fund small countries. Nescafé Gold is their premium instant line. The gold jar, the smooth blend promise, the advertising that suggests luxury and sophistication. Australians pay $14 to $16 for 200 grams, thinking they're treating themselves to something special. They're not. Nescafé Gold is spray-dried instant coffee made from commodity-grade beans. That gold label? Pure marketing, nothing more. Independent analysis shows Nescafé Gold is predominantly Robusta, with just enough Arabica mixed in to avoid being classified as pure Robusta, which would destroy their premium positioning. But here's the scandal that should make every Nescafé customer sick. In 2022, a major investigation exposed that Nestlé had been sourcing coffee from farms in Brazil that were using slave labor. Actual slavery. Workers trapped in debt bondage, living in horrific conditions, paid below minimum wage, unable to leave. Nestlé's response? They claimed ignorance. They blamed supply chain complexity. But when you're the largest coffee company on earth, ignorance isn't an excuse. It's a business model. Buy as cheap as possible, ask as few questions as possible, maximize profit margins, bury the uncomfortable truths. After the investigation went public, Nestlé announced enhanced supply chain monitoring and ethical sourcing commitments. But independent audits suggest virtually nothing has changed. The same farms are still supplying. The same exploitative practices continue. Nestlé just got better at hiding them and managing the PR. Beyond the ethics, the coffee itself is terrible. The spray drying process Nescafé uses involves spraying liquid coffee into a hot chamber where it instantly dries into powder. This is the cheapest, fastest method of making instant coffee, and it absolutely destroys any remaining flavor complexity. What you end up with is bitter, harsh, one-dimensional coffee that needs milk and sugar to be remotely palatable. And that smooth blend they advertise? It's smooth because it's been processed so aggressively that all the rough edges, all the character, all the things that make coffee interesting have been stripped away. It's smooth the way white bread is smooth, bland, forgettable, designed for mass consumption by people who don't know any better. You're not buying coffee when you buy Nescafé Gold. You're buying Nestlé's marketing department's version of what they think you'll accept as coffee. You're funding a supply chain that has documented connections to human rights abuses. And you're paying premium prices for bottom-tier quality. That's the real cost of convenience and brand recognition. Number 4, Republica Organic. Republica positions itself as the ethical alternative, the specialty coffee you can buy at supermarkets. Organic certifications, fair trade labels, single origin claims. The bags look like they came from a trendy cafe in Fitzroy. The price reinforces that premium image, $20 to $25 for 250 grams. But here's the problem with specialty coffee at supermarket scale. It's a contradiction. Real specialty coffee is limited production, carefully sourced, roasted in small batches to express origin character. You physically cannot do that and simultaneously stock 800 Woolworths locations nationally. The logistics don't work. The economics don't work. Republica solves this problem by redefining what specialty means. They use organic certification as a quality proxy, which sounds good until you understand that organic refers to farming practices, not flavor. Organic certification tells you nothing about how the coffee tastes. You can have absolutely terrible organic coffee and exceptional conventional coffee. The single origin claims are particularly misleading. A bag might say Colombia or Ethiopia, but without specifying region, farm, processing method, or varietal, that information is essentially worthless. Colombia is enormous with drastically different coffee-growing regions. Saying Colombian coffee is like saying Australian wine. It tells you almost nothing useful. And here's what Republica really doesn't advertise. Their roasting facility operates at semi-industrial scale. They're roasting hundreds of kilograms per batch. That's not craft roasting. That's commercial production with craft marketing. There's nothing artisanal about it. Independent taste testing reveals Republica coffee is acceptable, but completely unexceptional. For $25 per 250 grams, you should be getting transcendent coffee. Coffee that makes you pause and appreciate its complexity. Republica delivers mediocrity at premium prices. The Fair Trade certification is equally problematic. Fair trade guarantees minimum prices to farmers, which sounds ethical on the surface. But that minimum is often still poverty level in producing countries. And fair trade cooperatives have been repeatedly documented selling non-certified coffee into certified channels to capture the price premium. You're paying extra for a certification that may not mean what you think it means. When you can buy genuinely exceptional single-origin coffee from local specialty roasters for similar or even lower prices, paying for Republica is paying for supermarket convenience, not quality. You're funding a business model that appropriates specialty coffee language without delivering specialty coffee standards. It's organic marketing, not organic excellence. Number 5, Illy coffee. Illy is the sophisticated European option. The sleek red pressurized cans, the premium cafe positioning, the Italian heritage branding. Walk into any upmarket cafe or David Jones food hall, and you'll see Illy displayed like fine wine. It's marketed as the connoisseur's choice, the coffee for people who actually understand coffee. But here's what the marketing doesn't tell you. Despite the boutique image, Illy is mass-produced industrial coffee. They process over 60,000 tons annually. That's not small batch artisanal roasting. That's factory production with luxury branding and a massive markup. The pressurized can is Illy's signature feature. They claim it preserves freshness better than traditional packaging. What they conveniently omit is that coffee begins losing aromatic compounds immediately after roasting. When you seal coffee in a pressurized can, those volatile aromatics have nowhere to escape. They oxidize inside the container. By the time you open that beautiful red tin, the coffee has been sitting in its own degradation for weeks or even months. Actual craft roasters use one-way valve bags that allow carbon dioxide to escape while preventing oxygen from entering. That genuinely preserves freshness. Illy's pressurized cans are marketing theater, not superior preservation technology. The coffee itself is a single blend. Illy doesn't offer variety because they're optimizing for consistency across global markets. 9 Arabica varieties from 4 continents, all roasted to one identical profile. That sounds sophisticated in the advertising, but what it actually means is every cup of Illy tastes exactly the same, whether you're in Sydney, Singapore, or Stockholm. There's no seasonality, no variation, no expression of origin character, no evolution, just the exact same flavor profile, day after day, year after year. That's not quality. That's industrial standardization masquerading as Italian sophistication. And the price is absolutely outrageous. $25 to $35 for 250 grams of pre-ground coffee. You're paying luxury. Prices for industrial product and expensive packaging. You're paying for Italian flags and marketing budgets, not for exceptional coffee. Independent taste testing consistently describes illy as smooth but boring, one-dimensional, lacking complexity, forgettable. Professional roasters call it coffee for people who want to appear sophisticated without actually developing their palate. It's the coffee equivalent of expensive wine that tastes like every other expensive wine. You're not buying excellence when you buy illy. You're buying brand prestige. You're buying permission to feel superior about your coffee choice. But you're not actually drinking better coffee. Number 6. Robert Timms. Robert Timms is everywhere in Australian supermarkets. The individual coffee bags, the instant varieties, the ground coffee tins. It's positioned as convenient, reliable, everyday coffee. The kind your workplace bulk orders. The kind motels stock in rooms. The kind that's perpetually on special at Woolworths. Robert Timms represents everything wrong with convenience coffee culture. Those individual bags are particularly deceptive. They're marketed as fresh brewed convenience. Just drop a bag in your cup, add hot water, and you've got fresh coffee. Except you don't. You've got mediocre pre-ground coffee that's been sealed in those bags for months, steadily oxidizing and losing whatever minimal flavor it had to begin with. Pre-ground coffee loses aromatic compounds within days of grinding. Those Robert Timms bags could be 6 months old by the time you purchase them. You're brewing stale coffee and calling it fresh because the packaging told you it was convenient. The coffee itself is commodity-grade Robusta and low-quality Arabica, blended for price, not flavor. Robert Timms is owned by Pack Group, which is primarily a packaging company. Let that sink in. Your coffee is manufactured by a company whose core expertise is plastic and cardboard, not coffee roasting or sourcing. Independent taste testing consistently describes Robert Timms as harsh, bitter, and one-dimensional. That harshness is the Robusta content combined with over-roasting to hide defects in the source beans. The Italian espresso blend, one of their so-called premium offerings, tastes nothing like actual Italian espresso. It's Australian supermarket coffee with Italian words printed on the package. Pure marketing fiction. And those convenient individual bags create enormous environmental waste. Each single serving comes wrapped in plastic and foil that goes straight to landfill. A bag of whole beans and a basic grinder would produce dramatically better coffee with a fraction of the environmental impact. But Robert Timms isn't selling coffee quality. They're selling convenience to people who don't know better or don't have access to better options. Office managers buying in bulk to stock kitchens, motels trying to provide something that technically qualifies as coffee, shoppers grabbing whatever's on sale without reading the fine print. That's the Robert Timms customer base. Professional roasters won't stock Robert Timms commercially. When asked why, the answer is always the same. Poor quality beans, stale before it reaches consumers, designed for convenience rather than taste. If you're remotely serious about coffee, Robert Timms isn't even part of the conversation. You're paying $6 to $8 for pre-ground, stale, commodity coffee wrapped in wasteful packaging. That's not convenience. That's settling for mediocrity because the marketing made it seem acceptable and the price made it seem reasonable. So there it is, 6 brands, 6 lies, 6 ways the Australian coffee industry has been taking advantage of you. The next time you're standing in the coffee aisle at Woolworths or Coles, surrounded by Italian flags and mountain imagery and smooth blend promises, remember what you learned today. Marketing isn't quality. Branding isn't excellence. Convenience isn't worth drinking garbage. You deserve better than commodity beans roasted to death and sold at premium prices. You deserve better than supply chains built on exploitation. You deserve actual coffee. Which brand shocked you the most? Are you still buying Moccona or Nescafe? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more videos exposing what's really happening in Australian supermarkets, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.